right. Well, welcome to episode 2 of Comically Exposed with Heather and Gabbie. I'm Gabbie.
And I'm Heather.
Ta-da. We did that so well.
Yep.
Yay. And so it's episode 2, which means we are going to check in on the goals that we set out from episode 1. And then we're going to also set some goals for this next couple weeks. Did I miss stuff?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Because we can complicate it.
Yeah, we can. 1,000%. Yeah. All right. Well, Heather, would you like to go first? How was the last couple of weeks?
The last couple of weeks were productive. I didn't work on goals for myself, but I did work on goals for our group and working on a demo reel for our Sketchfest.
Yes. So appreciative of you for doing that. Yes. Uh-huh.
Thank you. I basically taught myself 2 new programs and created a demo reel in less than a week. So I am amazed that I did something that... No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm amazed that I was able to do something that actually turned out pretty good. So thanks to the talented people that I'm working with.
It's just for the listeners at home. This is a group that's Heather, myself, and our friend Susan. We've been writing sketch independently and talking to each other for the past couple of years. And so Susan and I are the actors of the group. And so we bombarded Heather with whatever nonsense videos we had. And a lot of them are of us doing live stuff, which means it's taped on like an iPhone, which means the audio is horrendous. And we were like, here you go, Heather, take this turd and polish it and make it beautiful. And she did. So, and that's without using these programs before, right?
Yeah, I've never used, I'm using very powerful tools. I'm using Adobe software, and I've used Adobe software for graphic design and other things that I've, like Illustrator, Photoshop, but I've never used Audition or Premiere Pro, which was interesting because it was like diving into the ocean for the first time if you've never swam before. So the things I did was make a lot of mistakes, and it was scary, but it was kind of fun to learn something new. And I don't know, like it was a lot of fun. I don't know if I would do it for a career, but to be able to stitch together something and make it look quality was pretty cool. I was like, oh, look at me. I'm a pro, so There you go.
Yeah, and I think it's also really interesting, just to tie it into our OCD, because that's also part of our podcast. I think it's interesting to do or try new things, because I don't know about you, but my OCD will scream for the first, like 20 minutes of doing the new thing and be like, you can't do this. It's going to be the worst. It's not going to like whatever it is. But then when you start to do the new thing, it's like, I don't know, for me, when I'm learning something new, the OCD is kind of like in the backseat, just muttering to itself. It's no longer, the passenger screaming directions at me.
Yeah, for me, it's like the passenger's still screaming. It's just I don't listen to the passenger anymore.
So you're focused on something else.
Yeah, it's still there. I still catch myself every now and then, but it doesn't disrupt my productivity of getting it done and wanting to get it done. And I took breaks. That was the big thing, was to actually walk away from some things, because I could get to the point where I kind of over focus on things.
Sure. Because
over focusing can be a dangerous territory for me, or as some people like to call it, hyper focusing. But it's when you think that you're doing something, but you're never getting to the right answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it can feel like torture You know, like it's like in your stomach and in your head, you know, it's like it feels like, you know, everything's wrong. I can't do it. Let's just start over. And I did kind of have those feelings a few times, but then I just kind of let it go. And I went, you know what? This is what it is. It's not perfect. It's not great. There are things that I've learned from the process of what I would do and what I wouldn't do, but not, you know, not a lot to like warrant to not do it again, I guess. You know, it's just, I don't know. I mean, apparently people make movies with this program, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
I made a 15-minute video. It took me a couple days.
Yeah, but again, a couple days from like never using it before.
Yeah. Which I'm supposed to
together the full thing.
Because as soon as I open the program up, I'm supposed to be an expert.
Yeah, obviously. But I think like now, if you did want to do a movie or another 15-minute reel, I think it would take you way less time because you've put yourself through all the paces.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And with that vote of confidence, but truly the demo looks good. The audio is as good as it can possibly be because, like I said, I mean, the audio that we gave to Heather, it just was like a couple shows that sound like this. And from that, she made it like dialogue that you could kind of understand, which is very impressive. So, Heather, fabulous job on this last thing. Thank you so much for doing something that was for the group. What is it that you're going to be doing next?
I have a few things that I want to do next. One focus is actually getting this podcast out into the world. And because I think it's important for us to be able to share what we're doing, whether or not people are listening. And the other part is I'm going to get back to my audio podcast or fictional storytelling podcast.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
Since it's been long enough now that I've given it a little bit of space, which I think is a good thing because you can get to a point of like digging into a story, whether or not you have OCD or anxiety, you can dig into a story and then just kind of get lost in the point. Like, what was the point again? And I feel like that now is a good time to come back to it and just kind of like write it out and finish a draft. And so that's my main focus this time, especially since we now have a lull from waiting for Sketchfest. I need something else to do to focus on. So that's my main focus.
I think that's great. Yeah. For two reasons. One, I love that we're going to put our podcast out into the world and all that stuff. But again, that's like a group goal. So I'm also very excited for you to do a Heather focused goal, which is,
getting something out there.
Your narrative podcast. Is that what we're calling it?
I don't remember.
I don't know. I'd like to think that I'm a good listener, but obviously not. So
it's a fictional audio series.
Oh, which just slips off the tongue.
Yes.
Fictional audio series, otherwise known as a FAS, an FAS.
Is that a form?
What?
I don't know. Anyway, it sounds like a federal form. FAS.
Oh, well, it sounds like a FAFSA or FAFSA. You know, the...
Yeah, FAFSA. Like FAFSA. School.
Yeah. Well, that's a good tangent. Okay, anyway.
You need an acronym? Call Gabbie.
That's right. I can figure out letters. Sometimes. Yeah, so if I could just bring the podcast back to me.
I'm going to ask the question.
Just kidding. Oh, I'm sorry. Please, continue.
So, Gabbie, what did you work on?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for asking and totally prompted / bullied into by me. What did I work on? So last week I went and visited our friend Susan up in Calgary. It was amazing. We did so much stuff. But the main thing that is important is I tried stand-up for the very first time.
Woo!
Yay. And lived I guess, is the main point, because we talked about it a little bit last time. I wanted to be a stand-up comic since I first saw stand-up comedy. And so that dream felt too precious to ever actually go for. And so, I don't know, breaking the seal, I guess, and doing the first stand-up set was like important because, you know, whether I bombed or whether I immediately got a Netflix special, which I assumed was what was going to happen in the basement of
Either
a pub in Calgary. Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, you know, who's hanging out here is network executives during a strike. So, yeah. But it did go okay. And I have it for us to watch. And I was just thinking, we could watch it now. I haven't been able to watch it with sound, but I did watch it on mute. And I'll tell you, I didn't vomit on myself. So that seems like that went well. Yeah, I don't know
that's the Gabbie meter for whether or not she can deal with stuff, is the level of vomit that she produces.
Yes.
Just so the audience is aware.
Yeah, you know, we laugh about it, but that is truly it of it. All right.
Oh my God. That's so good. Let's see. Stop sharing. There we go. Okay. So you did it. It was amazing. So, okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
It was the first time I've listened to, you know, with sounds. My judgmental side is out in force, you know. I feel a little lump like in my throat or chest or whatever. But it wasn't the worst. How about that? What a rousingly good thing to say. It wasn't the worst.
Actually, that is pretty good.
Yeah.
That is pretty good. I mean, for your first ever stand-up, you literally stood in front of the group, however big the crowd was, you know, 1 million people, you know, 4 people. I don't know.
Exactly.
But you did it. And that's, you know, like, that is like, not a lot of people can say they've done that before.
And I really appreciate that. Yes, I really appreciate you saying that. One of the comics at the end came up to me and said that I had really good timing, which was cool. Oh, and, you know, I got some applause at the end. And then Tara, the host, went up and she was like, "Oh, so Gabbie, how many times have you done stand-up before?" And I was like, "Oh, that's my first time." And everybody applauded. So that felt really good. Yeah, I definitely want to do it again. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh, I could say right a whole lot less. I could say so a whole lot less. I could actually have kind of structured the story more. I thought it was a little confusing when it was like at Burning Man versus like in present day or whatnot. So, but that's cool because I'm actually excited to tell the story again, only better, tighter.
Well, I think we all can get better and tighter, but I think for the moment, what we see in front of us is a really good start to something very interesting. You know, not a lot of people can say that they've stood up, held themselves without crumbling, and told a coherent stand-up set. Because you kind of saw the pieces, you know, and in comedy, that's like the most important part, because if you have no content in comedy, then you have nothing. I mean, then it's all just fart jokes and, you know, and other things like that. And so, which is not a bad thing because I love fart jokes, but having that kind of personal content is, I mean, at least for me, is always interesting when a stand-up comedian, you know, kind of like bears themselves a little bit.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it was, you know, I don't know if it's more of like an alt comedy or like, I'm used to more narratives. I'm used to more of like what you were saying, like more of the personal stuff. And that open mic night was a ton of just like set up joke of like most of the other comedians.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And also you laughed at some stuff. What?
No, but I was going to say, I mean, I enjoyed myself. I was thinking like, you know, in the lines of Mike Birbiglia as the kind of like narrative, you know, story where you're interweaving. I don't know if this is my inner like brain thinking about how to structure this more as you were talking about, but we don't need to say that recorded. I mean, oh yeah, no, the thing was like leading up to the stand up, I had told Susan like, oh, I want like an hour or two. I don't know if I've got specific, but to like write down some notes for the stand up tonight. And then we just kept running out of time and doing all this other stuff, which I was on board for. Like I could have said like, no, that's it. Stop. I need an hour and I'm going to write notes. But I was really enjoying myself doing other stuff. So I didn't write down anything. And I do think that the performance would have been better had I had a structure, but that's okay. Cause that's what I want to do the next time I perform it. And there's an open mic night at the last Sundays out here. That's for women and queer folk. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I think this would be, you know, a place where I could do it. And it's in a month. I think you have to give yourself more credit because I think your years of improv helped you. And I think that that's a good thing because not a lot of stand-up comedians can come on stage and be ready for anything to happen. I'm not a stand-up comedian. Yet. But I am not yet. And improv is not my forte. However, it's not my favorite. It is my favorite to watch. I totally envy people who have this ability to like do this. I may return back to the stage to try to do it. But anyway, this is not about me. Where am I going? My going is that I think with your improv talents that you're able to stand up on stage, even if you're not feeling great, you know, or ready or prepared or whatever words you want to insert that didn't make you feel ready. Because when you were on stage and me watching you, ignoring everything I know about you, you looked comfortable, like natural. Even the way you were playing with the microphone, it felt natural. So it's like, you might have something here.
Thank you. I will say, yes.
Oh, next to funny stuff. Next to funny stuff. You have lots of funny stuff. Yeah. Funny stuff comes easy for you.
Oh yeah, it just rolls off the tongue like a bird. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I do feel very comfortable on stage, and it has often, my judgment of that is, this is a selfish act. This is a narcissistic act. You know what I mean? To want to be on stage, to want to have attention and
to take up space in this world.
All right. Just because you nail something on the head. Exactly. Doesn't mean we're keeping it in the podcast. No, and also because my family is by and large like hilarious, but no desire to be on stage. And so it definitely has felt like, you know, I'm the odd one out and I'm doing something that, you know, maybe they don't like. But it turns out they've liked watching me on stage. It's just they always felt very scared for me because they would feel scared if they were on stage. This is a lot of family stuff. The whole point is I enjoy being on stage. Thank you for the compliment. I look forward to being on stage again. I think that's the main thing that came out of the stand-up for me was it was like, oh yeah, I want to do this again. Like it also doesn't feel so terrifying to get on stage again, you know?
That's great.
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking forward to my first bombing on stage because it really does feel like a duck to water when I'm performing. Even if it goes terribly, I don't care as much as in my day-to-day personal life. Yeah. Like if I was in front of somebody and I was bombing, it would feel way worse than in front of like, you know, the 15,000 people that I assume is going to be the minimum stage capacity for, anyway, whatever. The point is, the next thing that I want to do before our next episode, perfect seamless transition, is also a stage thing. I want to apply to Mortified. I have a stand-up set that I wrote when I was 14 years old. I haven't really looked at it since. I know that it's just me basically borrowing the voice of all the different stand-ups that I thought were really cool at the time. Because I was 14, had no life experience. So I'm sure it's terrible. But when I was reading the application, they're looking for like more stuff, just in case the stuff that you bring isn't enough. And I realized that I had printed out every email during my freshman year of college.
Whoa.
It's like, okay, over the summer, you're not going to have access to this email anymore. And we're just going to like erase whatever's on there. So I, of course, panic, send every email to my mother, who prints it all out at work. So there is a gigantic stack of printed material that has not been gone through. So there's probably something mortifying in there.
I love that you were so comfortable in sending your emails to your mom to have her print at work. I mean, wow.
Well, yeah. I mean, to go into family stuff again, my mom and my sister and I are incredibly close and have an extremely honest relationship. And kudos to my mother, who basically set that tone since we were born. And let's just say I wouldn't have sent these emails to my father. It's not. I love my dad dearly, and we also have a good relationship, particularly now. But at the time, as a teenage girl, I don't think. Nope. Sending it to my dad would not have been the thing. Yeah. Also, he would have been like, why? Why are we printing out this? You know, makes no sense.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Sorry.
Why?
I'm telling the audience this is hilarious.
No to laugh now.
Yes. Laugh now.
Laugh now.
We have to pause for their laughter.
Well, I assume we're going to be using a laugh track and just
is
going to come
in. Yes, the whole time.
Yeah.
What was the other part that we were supposed to do in the structure of this podcast? We're on episode 2.
We are on episode 2, and it is outline of the podcast, introductions, what happened. We talk about our goals, and then we outro out.
So I'm working on podcast stuff for our podcast, Comically Exposed. And I am going to work on my audio narrative series. Fictional narrative series. I don't know, whatever I'm calling it.
You said fictional audio series, but who am I to hold you to the
I think
acronym?
There's a better name, and I might use it next time, because I literally don't know, or I don't remember what it was called. And the more I keep adding words to it, the longer it becomes.
Perfect. Okay. And then I am going to work on my Mortified application for the next 2 weeks, as well as I am doing the submitting of our Sketchfest application. And so that should be done either today or at latest tomorrow. I know, thrilling for all of our audience, but yeah. Yay. Okay, so we've stated our goals for the next episode. And I think now is the time where we tell our audience to get lost and go have fun for a couple of weeks. And try not to cry every day until our next episode.
Yes, because you miss us, and we are your nourishment.
And the only thing
whatever that
tethering
means.
you to this world.
Yes. We are the light to. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
I think you can just leave it at we're the light. Yeah. You know?
We are the light.
We are the light. And that's how we're going to end every episode, including this one. So thanks everybody for listening.
Yes.
See you next time.
Yep. See you next time. Bye.
Bye. Welcome to the end of the show. This is Gabbie Blachman.
And this is Heather Nye.
Thank you for listening to Comically Exposed. We're just a little show with two creators who edit and produce each episode. We appreciate all your support.
If you liked what you heard, please follow us on Instagram at comicallyexp.podcast. That's comicallyexp.podcast.
Or subscribe to us on Spotify. New episodes drop every other Wednesday.
Also, special thanks to Track Club and Golden Finch for providing the music.
Thanks for listening, and hey, everybody, today is a great day to expose yourself. Okay, until next time, ta-ta for ta-da!
Bye!
Bye!
Me!